It feels counterintuitive, but you have to focus in on one. And I challenge you to take the time to really deeply reflect on who is that ideal client for you.
You are listening to Amplify Your Success Podcast, episode 393. And today, let's learn how to leverage the right data to generate consistent cash flow. You ready for this? Let's get started. Welcome to the Amplify Your Success Podcast. Get ready to ramp up your revenue, amplify your impact, and make your mark in the world. This is the show for experts, thought leaders, and service professionals who want to shatter their limits and achieve that next level. You're going to find out from other experts and influencers how they made it. Now, let's get amplified. Hey there, entrepreneurs and business leaders. It's your host, Melanie Benson, authority amplifier and possibility igniter for expert-based entrepreneurs ready to achieve 5- and 6-figure months. So today, great guest. So excited to share her with her. Her book has been really interesting to read, very helpful. And we're talking about consistent cash flow. Now, I just want to pull the elephant into the room, so to speak, this conversation that's happening behind the scenes for a lot of people. Their cash flow's not doing so well right now. And for some people, the industry changes have really impacted them. Other people, people are just tired. People are burned out. But look, if you have a business, you need to have cash flow and you need to make this the priority. Yes, I know you want to impact people. Yes, I know you want to do the things you're passionate about. I want that too. And our full responsibility is doing the things that get the cash flowing in. That's what keeps the business going. And that's what keeps you being able to do the impact, heart-driven work that I know you want to do. So today I want you to really pay attention. This is a game changer. This one tiny thing that you start paying attention to in your business can make a huge difference. Now, I want to tie this to a resource that we share here often, my $1 Million Visibility Framework. And the reason why I want to tie this in for you is because cash flow comes easier when you have these other pieces of your puzzle in place properly. You need to have visibility and the right visibility in the right place. You need to have a great offer. You need to have the right message. All of these pieces have to come together. And that's what allows you to see the data and recognize what's moving the needle forward. So I'm going to offer you my framework absolutely free. If you haven't downloaded it yet, head to melaniebenson.com/framework. Download it right now, review it, watch for the couple emails that are going to come afterwards to help you unpack what's inside this framework, because this framework is a game changer. This is how I've run my business for 24 years. It works when you work it. Now, let's get into today's episode. Welcome back, amplifiers. Oh, we got a real powerful episode for you today, especially if you've noticed your cash flow is a bit inconsistent lately, or always, right? Let me introduce you to my guest today. Her name is Amy Traugh, and she is a business strategist. She helps online service providers break through sales plateaus by teaching them how to strategically leverage their data to drive making better decisions. She is the author of the CEO Method. Got it right here. Been doing my learning. And she's also the host of this amazing podcast that I was fortunate enough to be a guest on, called the Motivated CEO Podcast. So, Amy, I have so been looking forward to this conversation because I know how hot the conversation was that we had on your show. And I know we're going to do that here today too.
I am absolutely so pumped to be here with you today, Melanie. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
You're welcome. Well, I want to start by just kind of it's not even the elephant in the room. It's literally like the water cooler conversation lately. Every
Yeah.
place that I show up and talk to entrepreneurs, there's a conversation that's been emerging. People are like, yeah, cash flow's not where it used to be. Things that were working aren't working right now. And of course, we can blame the industry, the changes, the marketplace. We can put our focus on a lot of things out there, but ultimately, from you and I talking, I know that there's something going on that we need to look at inside our business. What do you think is the most common reason entrepreneurs don't have the cash flow they want in their business right now.
Oh my gosh, 99% of the time I see this. And it's that we're not tracking our data. Our data is the core of a sustainable business. When we use our data to drive our decisions, that paints this beautiful picture for us as to what's working, what's not working. We look at these trends, it's telling us such valuable information from an objective point of view. So it allows us to take the emotion out of it because we're human. At the end of the day, we are meant to feel, we are going to feel. But we need to have those checks and balances in place to guide us so that we can generate consistent cash flow within our business. So it's data. Data is that missing piece of the puzzle. And this is not the fun stuff that everybody likes to hear about. This is not the super glamorous part of running a business. But knowing your numbers, that's what creates a sustainable business.
Yeah. I used to teach something similar to this many moons ago. And yeah, it's not the sexy part. It's not the flashy
Yeah.
part. It's also probably not the passion place for most of us, but it is the place that we are, whether you recognize or not, you're the CEO of your business, right? You're the
Yep.
chief entrepreneurial officer, as I like to call it, and you're going to need to make decisions. So let's unpack data, because I know you and I know what data means, but what does data mean to you? Like, what do we need to start looking at in the data side of things?
Yeah. It's such a broad term for information in our business. So this is something as simple as KPIs. Diving into those analytics, and every single platform out there that you're using has analytics. But my question to you is, when was the last time you actually took the time, intentionally made the time to pause in doing all of the things in your business to look at that data, to see what content is actually resonating with your ideal clients, to see what is getting clicked on, what emails are getting opened, really getting curious as to what is working in my business right now. And then zooming out and looking big picture as well, reviewing quarterly, reviewing the last 6 months, reviewing the year. Then what you can do is get curious. You know that you go down a dip in the summer? Okay, what can we do? Can we repackage something? Can we launch something differently? What can we do then to fill those gaps? So data is just a broad term for information in our business, whether it be a KPI, a key performance indicator of the data and analytics we see inside those platforms, or it could be financial as well. Tracking that cash flow, knowing what your profit margin is. All too often, we see these glamorous metrics. I just had a $120,000 lunch. Okay, that's great. My analytical mind goes, okay, but what was your overhead? How much did you spend on your team, on your systems, on your backend, on the platforms, on all of the things, even ads? What did you actually profit from that? That's usually a whole nother story. So, data is just information that we can use strategically in order to grow our business.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I always tell my team when they come on board, I said, I'm going to ask you for a lot of data. I want numbers.
Mhm.
You're going to hate it, but it's going to actually make us better. It's going to make us more profitable. It's going to use our time wisely. It's going to help us decide where do we want to participate in collaborations. I mean, it tells us everything, right? Because numbers don't lie, as that
Right.
saying goes. Some of the let's just go a little bit deeper. I'm going to nerd out on this with you for a minute. I
Yeah,
just want to
love
talk
it.
about specific to maybe coaches, some of the numbers that they may not even be thinking about. I'll throw a couple, maybe you throw a couple, but one of the things that they don't think about is how many conversations does it take for you to get to a sale?
Yeah,
That's a good
exactly.
number, right? What's one of the ones that you would tell a coach to look at specifically?
Do your offer support your goals? I would say
Mm,
the majority of the time, I've got these clients coming to me, they've got these huge goals, which is great. You can reverse
mhm,
engineer everything.
mhm.
But Do your offers support your goals? Because if you're selling a membership that's $7 a month, how many thousands of memberships do you have to sell in order to meet your goals? So often we're comparing apples to oranges. We're comparing our business to everyone else's business. But when you break it down and you see, do your offers support your goals? A lot of times, no. It's a
Mhm.
longer uphill battle. So we need to figure out, what are your offers, and are they supporting your goals in a way that supports your current capacity for your business? And that's another metric I love to track, is what is my current capacity? Am I on a wait list currently with clients? Do I have openings? What has that looked like over the course of a year? Because as I've grown my business, as I've gotten really granular with the data, it's really interesting to see these patterns. These patterns emerge over time. And because I see these patterns, it's like, okay, I know I need to ramp up my marketing efforts during these months, because so often what happens is we get so overloaded with clients, then we forget to market. And then we run out of clients. So then it's like, this hamster wheel that we're stuck on, as to always being in reactive mode. But having the data allows us to be proactive. We can plan ahead because we've seen historically what our business has done.
I'm thinking of a client I worked with many years ago, who their cash flow was so erratic, and she was really frustrated by not understanding why they were marketing like crazy, but the revenue was dipping. And when we looked at, because she had a membership, which is what made me think of her, when I looked at the membership numbers, they were losing more members every month than they were gaining. But she'd never thought to look at how many, what was her retention, right? Like how many people were staying and for how long. And so again, like going back to numbers, like, and Amy, you're hitting this nail on the head so perfectly. If you don't understand the picture that your numbers are painting for you, you're making decisions about offers and marketing and selling that don't necessarily support the business goals you have. This is just such a brilliant conversation.
Yes. And we get stuck in our heads then. And this is what keeps so many entrepreneurs stuck,
Mm.
because we like to be busy. A lot of us are addicted to being busy. So we think that creating all of this endless content on social media, always being on there all of the time, that more hustle, more work is going to equal more results. I've actually found the inverse has been true in my business. And I wonder if this is true for you as well. Leveraging that podcast as the long form content literally has this huge trickle down effect in my business. I use that as my long form content, and then I pull it apart in a very strategic way so that I'm not having to recreate the wheel over and over. But how do I do this? I use my analytics to tell me, okay, these titles of these episodes really had a higher download rate. How can I use more of that? All right, these episodes didn't do as well. How can I get curious and do less of that? So it all comes back to the data.
Yeah. You and I are literally like sharing a brain sometimes.
Yay. I love that.
I do too. It's like, oh my God, I love it. And this is not my superpower, right? Like this is not the thing that I love to do. I don't have that passion and maybe that skill set that you do. So you're the real pro and expert here. But I've learned over the years, if I don't do this, even though I don't love it, if I don't do it, the business is not growing the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to be intentional and make the time.
Yeah.
This is not the fun stuff, but I literally every single month, it is so important to me that I take the time, that I make the time to be objective, to have it on my calendar that I am going to dive in and analyze that data on those spreadsheets so that I can get curious and run my business like a business and stop just running it off of intuition on a whim. Like, yes, it's important to have that inner trusting, that inner knowing, but at some point, you have to leverage the information. You have to leverage the data that is there in black and white that is telling you exactly what is working, exactly what is not working. That is
Mhm.
the key.
I would agree. Well, let's flip this conversation to what would work better right now. So let's say your cash flow's been erratic. you've been leaning into, it's like, okay, I want to keep having high 5 or 6-figure or maybe even 7-figure months. Maybe that's
Mhm.
the level you're at, and you've been on this roller coaster. What is something we could be doing right now to contribute to that consistent desired cash flow?
Absolutely. It comes down to two things: clarity as to who and consistency as to what. So let's back up: clarity as to who. So often we have this primal need to be accepted, right? We want to be accepted. We don't want to ruffle anybody's feathers. So we're doing all the things, trying to be the people pleasers all of the time. It feels counterintuitive, but you have to focus in on one. And I challenge you to take the time to really deeply reflect on who is that ideal client for you and speak to them. One person with one problem on one platform. When you have gotten that on lockdown, that's when you can start to expand out. You don't need to be doing all of the things all of the time. And it's so hard. It's so counterintuitive, isn't it? Because we feel like, yes, I should be able to serve anyone. But when you're speaking to everyone, you're literally speaking to no one because you're confusing people. So clarity is step one of the process. You have to be so crystal clear as to who your product or your service is for. Because once you have the clarity, then you can dive into the consistency as to what. And this is the data. This is showing you what's working, what's not working. From there, we can build out the systems, the automations to make our business work for us versus getting stuck in that 24/7 hustle mentality. Because all too often, I've seen clients that quit their 9 to 5 to work 24/7. And it doesn't have to be that way. My friend, that is a choice. That is a hard truth, but it is a choice.
You're right. And it may be an unconscious choice, but you're
Yeah,
still choosing, right? And I think
yeah,
sometimes we don't recognize when we make unconscious choices that may
yeah.
be landing us in undesirable situations, right? So
Mm-hmm.
and again, like just connecting all these dots, like you're telling us that the numbers give us information to make conscious choices.
Right.
This is so good.
It all comes down to awareness because busy is
Mhm.
making us feel important. But when you realize that you're doing that and you can acknowledge that and see it, it's like, oh, wait a minute. I, I'm going down that rabbit hole again. Self
Mhm.
awareness is a huge part of entrepreneurship that I feel like not a lot of entrepreneurs are really truly aware of. But
Mhm.
once you have that awareness as to, okay, these are my default patterns that I tend to go back to, then you can start to acknowledge them. And then you're aware of them. And then you can work through it and quickly flip the script so that you are being productive, that you are taking steps to move the needle forward versus slipping back into those patterns of self sabotaging behaviors. Because believe me, I have been there. I have totally been there. This has been like the biggest personal development journey of my life being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, true. So, how does systems and automation play into this cash flow strategy that we're talking about here?
Yes, systems and structure give you freedom. Everyone has this like misconception that these systems have to be these very complicated things. Systems to me are just workflows that reduce the decision fatigue that I have on a daily basis. Because when we are the CEO of our business, we're making so many decisions on a given day. I want to make sure I have the mental capacity saved up for the ones that actually matter. Not, okay, I have a new client. What does the onboarding process look like? No, I have automations set up so that the process is seamless, so that the dots are connected that, okay, when this happens, then this triggers that to happen. And it's done automatically. So what that has done is that has given me back time. That has given me back time and energy because it's on autopilot. And this is where having those standard operating procedures and workflows in place are important. And again, not the sexy, glamorous part of the business, but taking the time to do this and set these systems up on the back end, that's going to give you back time. So often we think, oh, I need to hire out, I need a huge team. Yes, that's awesome. But there's a lot of things that can be done on the back end with some systems and automations that can save you money because of technology and how quickly it's evolving.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm a huge systems person. And I've had this conversation with a number of people who are a little bit more intuitive, or they like to kind of be in the moment. And yet they were always overwhelmed,
Right.
exhausted, feeling burned out and stressed about the things that had to get done. I'm like, yeah, that's because you have no systems. There's no
Right.
automation in place.
Yeah.
Such a great example.
Yeah.
So your book is The CEO Method, and for you listening, I'm holding this beautiful book in my hand. It's got one of those gorgeous covers, that feels really soft, but it's just so it like draws me in every time I look at it. And your method is very powerful. Even if you don't recognize that you are a CEO, every entrepreneur should be reading this book. So tell us like how the CEO method becomes your partner in growing your business the way you desire.
Yeah, I wrote this book because I started to see patterns. I saw
Mhm.
patterns over and over and over, working with clients, growing multiple businesses myself. And I was like, you know what? How do we break this down? How do we create a framework that really gives readers back control, gives my clients back control? Again, it all goes back to the data. You see certain patterns emerge. Step one is clarity. You have to have the clarity before you do anything, because if you have no clue where you're headed, you're going to end up lost. Clarity is your GPS, it is your North Star. From there,
Mhm.
we dive into those systems, automations, really establishing control, having a plan in place so that we can create a sustainable business built around our life. And then in part three, we go into organic marketing and sales. Because until you hit a certain threshold, you can grow a very lucrative business without investing thousands and thousands of dollars into paid ads. So will step on a soapbox and preach it till I'm blue in the face. When you are first starting out, until you have something nailed down, stick with organic marketing. And then we tie it all together with a pretty little bow with the most important piece, and that is taking action. That is implementation, because all of the knowledge in the world, it's out there. Everything you need to succeed is out there, but you have to take action. You have to implement the amazing knowledge that you have gained, or else knowledge is just that. But applied knowledge is what is going to get you the results that you desire.
Yeah, well said. I love it. And you mentioned organic marketing. I just want
Mhm.
to define what that looks like or means for
Mhm.
somebody who may be thinking, okay, that sounds really good right now. What do you mean by organic marketing?
So, marketing through relationships versus something like paid ads.
Mhm.
So, how can we take someone from a follower to a buyer without having to run paid campaigns, whether that be in person, virtual, ads? So, that's my definition of
Okay.
organic marketing.
Good. I'm glad I asked you because everybody has a slightly different
They do.
definition.
You're absolutely right.
Yes. And by the way, as you're listening in, if you're like, well, what kind of strategies? Go back and listen to the last 20 episodes of the show. You're going to get some organic marketing ideas, right? It's like that's what we specialize in here. And I'm sure you have some great ones too. But Amy and I are literally doing a version of that right now.
Yeah.
A relationship that formed. We're like, oh my God, I love your topic. You should come on my show. Oh my God, I love what you post on social. Come on my show. Can you talk about it? That's organic marketing at its best. So there's so many different ways you could do it. You really just want to find the way that really aligns with your superpowers and where your audience, where your ideal client is looking for solutions.
Right. We don't need to be everywhere.
No. That's exhausting,
It
right?
is.
Well, speaking of the CEO Method book, you have actually, if I understand properly, you are making it available to the Amplify community for free. Did I see that right?
Yes. Oh my
Oh my
gosh. As my
goodness.
gift to you for listening in today, you can grab a completely free copy. And I'm doing this because I wrote my book to create an impact. At the end of the day, that is my why. I want to help as many people as possible to achieve their version of success. So I am gifting that to you. All you have to do to grab it is just go to my website, amytraugh.com/free book, and grab your free copy.
I love it. And it's such a great book and it's a quick read. So something you can
Thank you.
do as a quick read when you're having a coffee one morning, or you're going to take your daily inspire and infuse wisdom into your mind, your half hour that you do that every day. This is a great book to add to that list. Thank you for sharing it for free, Amy. That is so generous. All right, this is the time in the conversation that I like to turn the tables to a little bit more of the personal side of
Yeah.
Amy, like get to know your mind, your own decision-making process. And I am sure, having a few years in this business, that there was a moment you had to do something really bold. Might have been a little scary, and you were grateful you did because it ended up amplifying the success of your business. Would you share with us what that was?
It was making the decision to write the book. That is the most recent thing that has
Mm.
happened to me. Full disclosure, beginning of last year, I did not intend to write a book. Q2, didn't intend to write a book. Q3, didn't intend to write a book. On November 12th, I committed to writing a book. There's a whole story that goes into that, but I made a decision. I kept that promise to myself and I did it. And that was terrifying because writing a book will bring up every single subconscious fear and uncertainty. All of those like repressed emotions, you feel them when you're going through that process. But I did it. And looking back, it's just such a cool feeling. Just having that sense of satisfaction. I said I was going to do something, I committed, and I did it. I did it for myself to hold myself accountable because there were plenty of days when I just wanted to quit. I was like, no, no, no. And I'm like, no, I committed to this. I publicly committed because I knew I would do the cute quit if I had it. So I actually threw it out there because I'm like, I won't be able to like say no that I quit, if
Mm.
somebody were to ask me. So I know myself enough that I was like, you know what? All the signs are pointing to write a book, so I did it. That was my big bold move, and it was terrifying. But at the end of the day, it did. It amplified my business beyond belief.
Mm, Thank you for sharing that one. I think many people can relate to the sheer terror of committing publicly to doing something of that caliber, but it does pay off. I'm a huge fan of books. What is one investment that you wish you would have made sooner? Because once you made it, you saw the payoff just exponentially grow the business.
For me, it was really investing in the right mentor.
Mm.
Making that commitment because we all go down the rabbit holes and get lured in by all the flashy glamorous things, but you make a few mistakes, you learn some things, and then you figure it out as you go. So for me, investing in myself and where I was taking the business, where I was going versus where I was at that time, it was scary. But what it did is it made me put some skin in the game and hold myself to another level of accountability because I wanted that return on investment. I didn't want to just throw away all of that money.
Yeah. Well said. I would agree with you. Investing in the right mentor or mastermind, whatever the
Mhm.
flavor is that you do, has probably been the catapulter for me over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree. Amy, thank you so much for coming and joining and sharing your wisdom and these insights around stepping into being more intentional about our CEO role. And again, I highly recommend the book. If you go to amytraugh.com/free book, I will link that up in the show notes just so that it's easy for you to find. And as well, all of the great places to connect. And I'd love to know if you download the book and implement one of these, come on the social, whichever platform is your favorite. give me a little shout out in the DMs, or you can even tag Amy and I in a post about the show and tell us what was the aha from today. I know Amy'd probably love to hear what your breakthrough was as well. Thank you so much, Amy.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thanks for tuning in today, Amplifier. Be sure to join us right now in the Amplify Your Authority community at authorityamplifiers.com, and I'll share my 7 proven tips to be a highly paid expert that stands out in a crowded market. Plus, we're going to keep this conversation going, and I want to hear from you how you're going to amplify your authority and make a greater impact. Before you go, please take a minute to give our show and our guests some love over on your favorite podcasting platform. Subscribe, rate, and review. Leave your full name, and I'll spotlight you and your authority on social media.